Bill Stevens, Pole Place, Edison. What is this ordinance actually doing to change? We're creating 3 deputy?
Council President, it would
Sure.
create a third deputy. There is no limit on deputies. Some towns have 6, some have 10. Just to be, I'm sorry, Mr. Stevens, time.
Well, maybe, no, Mr. Kanker, if you want to explain it, that would be helpful. I
Well,
think.
I'm not going to address the deputy issue. I just want to make the council and the public understand exactly what's happening here. Right now, we have an OEM coordinator who lives in Edison. That person will still serve in some capacity as a deputy OEM coordinator. So we lose an OEM coordinator, and that vacancy exists, a new one comes in. There's no net loss. In fact, we pick up an extra OEM expert. So there is no net loss. You lose one OEM coordinator, you put one in. There's no loss. There's no risk of safety. In fact, I would argue you'd be safer, because now you have 3 deputies and one OEM coordinator.
All right, and
Oh, sorry.
I wasn't even going there in terms of
Yeah,
people
well,
moving.
I thought he. Right, I thought he.
And I
explained.
understand it. No, but I don't understand why we need three deputies. And I guess I'm really struggling with the definition of what a deputy is. A deputy, to me, would be somebody who has the ability to step in and take the place of the OEM coordinator if something was to happen to that person. I'm not sure why we're creating this huge staff other than to circumvent the residents' ruling. And I think that if the OEM coordinator has to be a resident of Edison, and that's state mandated, there's good reason behind that. You know, everybody keeps talking about little minor incidences. Even Durham Wood, to some extent, is nowhere near as bad as it could get if we get hit with a viral attack or something like that here in this. And we're going to need everybody we can get on the ground working and coordinating, because just the traffic alone, to handle traffic, is an amazing proposition. I've been to a couple of classes when I was with security with AT&T, and you know, for communities to just set up so they can get their emergency vehicles through the community in operation is very, very difficult, because anytime they have any real unadvertised exercise, it becomes total gridlock within a matter of minutes. I think that what we need is we need somebody here working with that coordinator, and I would agree with the business administrator 100%. It most certainly is the mayor's position to appoint that person. I just don't understand why we don't think we need as much response from the deputies as we're going to have from the emergency coordinator. It seems to me that if he has to be here, or she, as the case may be, that the deputy also, and again, I get concerned when I start hearing a broader span of management, to me, tends to lead to much more confusion. If 1 or 2 people are working together, it's a whole lot easier to keep communication straight than you have 3 or 4, and now you have a larger tendency. There was a rumor that went around Edison Township a couple of weeks ago that I'm sure everybody's aware of, to show you how bad things can get when you have lousy communication. Of course, pretty evil people who had something to do with that. But the bottom line is, we don't need 3 coordinators. I'm not sure what even the purpose of them is. I mean, the bottom line is, we had a great OEM coordinator in Edison Township, and for political reasons, he was taken out of that position, and there is nobody on the police department that is more qualified than that individual was. He was replaced. Everybody accepted the fact that the mayor had every right in the world to replace that individual. He was replaced, and now because this individual is moving, he's still in the command staff of the police department. He's still going to have a lot to say what's going on. So I just don't understand why all of a sudden we think we need 3 coordinators or deputy coordinators, and they should not have to live in Edison Township. I mean, we're going backwards. And that's not a good thing, as our population is about to explode, especially as some of these big housing developments go through. We can't afford to be going backwards. We need everybody right here. For years, I've heard the politicians talk about how horrible it was to allow the police and the firemen to move out of Edison Township, because there was a time when they were all your neighbors. And if anything happened, they were right there ready to take and go on the job. And now, many of them are an hour and a half away. So I would hope that you would not do the same thing with somebody who should be coordinated if we ever do have a real disaster. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Edison?
Council President, I just wanted to make one thing clear. The state statute is silent on deputies, whether they need to reside or not, but it does, the state statute does require that any deputy be appointed from among the salaried officers or employees of the municipality. That's the only requirement on deputies, but the OEM coordinator must be a resident.
Okay. Ms. Hennessy?
Mary Ann Hennessy, 20 Carmelo Drive. To the chair. To me, what this simply sounds like, the way it could be handled, logically, is Captain Anderko hands his resignation in when he gets to move into his new house that he's moving to because he can't afford to live in Edison. We have a deputy who lives out of Edison. Leave him that way. You have a deputy who lives in Edison already. Move him to the position of coordinator and move Captain Anderko to his position as deputy. You don't have to add another layer. You don't need any more people. You've got 3 people there who have been training, and I'm assuming they've been training alongside each other the entire time. And training rubs off on everybody's shoulders. And I'm sure Mrs. Griffin-Usack would admit the same thing. One teacher could go to a seminar and come back and teach the other teachers so that they've learned the same quality and quantity that the first teacher got. So I'm sure between these 3 people, each one has rubbed shoulders and given bits and pieces off so that they're all level. And to my way of thinking, it would simply be laterally moving one coordinator to the deputy position, moving the existing resident of Edison deputy to the coordinator's position. And they all have the same training, experience, and knowledge. And I strongly urge the council to consider this and not pass this amendment, which again to the residents of the township will look like another level of unneeded people. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Ms. Wells?
Actually, I'm going to say again, the state requires that the emergency management coordinator live in Edison. It makes no mention of anything else. Mr. Lair is absolutely right on that. But the council, not too long ago, put into your code that the deputy would live in Edison. So Mrs. Hennessy came up with a good idea, but it won't work because the assistant has to live in Edison. So if you don't live in Edison, you cannot become the deputy according to our Edison Township Code. And why are we doing this? The only reason that you can give, the legitimate reason, is so that you're changing the position to do something favoring an individual. Other than that, this would never be before this body now. If Mr. Anderker were not moving, you wouldn't even be talking about this. All of this is being done, and I have nothing against Mr. Anderker, believe me. You guys know that I'm with procedures and that kind of thing. And I think it's a very bad practice that we start changing what we thought was something good just to accommodate an individual. Nobody's indispensable. I'm not happy that he's moving from Edison, but nobody else lives here. Why should he stay?